Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Jennifer van Riet from Silver 17 Consulting. With me is my collaborator at Touchbase. You can find us on Facebook, Jane Moores. And today we are talking with Elman Lambrecht. I am so excited to introduce Elman to you. He was supposed to be our next guest at our masterclass at the Workshop 17. We believe that he needs absolutely to have this space to speak to you all. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Jane. Jane?
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate your collaboration in organizing this. And I know it actually started in January this year, where we had an in-person workshop at the waterfront, which many of us are craving at this stage since we're all locked down in our homes. So we look with envy at those kind of scenarios. But here we are, still making the most of it. And Jennifer and I have decided that we really wanted to collaborate to be able to support our clients and our candidates and our friends during this pandemic. So Jennifer is normally spending her time sourcing people. I normally spend my time training and coaching people in the recruitment industry, internal and external recruiters. But for now, we're really looking at topics that we can explore to help support those of you who are at home, who are working and trying to continue to work and build yourselves and learn in our new normal. So welcome, Elman. We're really excited to have you with us today. I know you were actually there in the waterfront with us in January this year. So all of us, our hair is a little longer at this stage because none of us have made it to a hairdresser at this stage. But here we are, full of heart and spirit. And I know that you've spent about 15 years in the HR industry. And also in human resources and also in talent attraction and in talent acquisition. So you have a lot of experience to offer. And you have started not just one, but two HR tech companies, being Kogo People Analytics and 3 Degrees Tech. So welcome. And please, could you start off by just telling us a little bit more about what each of these companies do? What is your focus in each of them?
Yes, Jennifer and Jane, thank you so much for the opportunity. But can I share to all the delegates that's here, I've never seen two people as professional as Jane and Jennifer when it comes to webinars. My word, they are on top of it. And thank you so much for arranging all of this. Everybody that's live now and people that's going to watch later on, I've been following your other webinars and it's amazing work that you do. So I want to thank you for awesome work that you're doing. For the community and everybody out there. I'm very happy to be here today because I've been quite busy over the past couple of weeks because of the technology that we have developed. And as we speak today during our conversation, and I'm showing a couple of demos, I'm sure people would understand the reason why this has become so extremely important under the current circumstances. But quickly, the two companies that I founded, Kogo People Analytics, they be specialized in developing artificial intelligence solutions specifically for human resources. So there's solutions regarding process optimization, where we've got HR virtual assistants, so you can call them HR chatbots that assist HR in various ways. But then our main flagship product is around HR or people analytics, where we developed predictive and prescriptive analytic models where people can predict, for example, who would leave your company next. So it's a attrition model, learning and development models, even timekeeping or attendance models. We can predict what large part of your workforce might be absent tomorrow due to various absenteeism matters. So that's Kogo People Analytics. On 3 Degrees Tech, they we specialize more in converting HR communication or HR processes in highly engaging virtual environments. That's a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. So it takes whatever HR wants to communicate, whether it's to a candidate in the recruitment environment or to an employee in the employee life cycle. We take that processes, take the messages, and create game-based environments. It's different to gamification, but a game-based. So we create some games, it's online games, whether it's virtual, whether you use VR, or whether you use mobile games. But we then convert the processes into that, and that's how we can converse and engage with employees. So that's the two main companies. Thanks, John.
Okay, excellent. Well, I know that Jennifer and I both love what you do. We are super great fans of it, and I've had the privilege of seeing the fun side of that when we were doing some training last year and also pulling it into our conference at the beginning of this year. So I love that gamification and that virtual world. I think it's so exciting. But how did you come to see the need for developing these, these companies and for what they offer to HR and talent acquisition people?
Yes, okay. With your permission, I'm going to focus more on the 3 degrees tech side, so the whole engaging part, and where the identification comes in. I come from HR, so I've spent 15 years in HR prior to this. Started off as an HR journalist, so there we did everything from disciplinary hearings to recruitment to employee engagement to payroll and everything. Did that for a couple of years before moving into more talent acquisition specialist positions, which is more recruitment positions. But throughout my career, very often I got frustrated of my own ability to communicate with my employees, because from an HR point of view, there's a lot of messages that we need to put across. Let's say there's a new policy. You need to not just communicate that policy, but educate people regarding that policy. Support people, speak to you, need to engage with them back. If there's change management processes, or you want to engage more candidates, in other words, build your candidate pool, so you communicate via job portals or social media. But our ability to communicate sometimes was quite hampered. And I feel sometimes the reason for that is we were using outdated communication tools. For example, mass email. So we would think we're going to create a new policy, let's say the policy about, let's say COVID-19 policy. So what is going to happen with your leave? So is this compulsory leave? Is it non-compulsory leave? What's going to happen? So we need to communicate it. So normally what does HR do? We send out a mass email, a bulk email. So if you're a large multinational, you send it out to all 10,000 people. So now you believe that 10,000 people are going to read that email, going to understand that email, and everybody's happy after it. While our marketing departments would tell you, should you send a mass email, less than 10% of people at the end open up a mass email, and your engagement with that email, let's say click on a link or something, is normally less than 1%. So what would happen if we take it in the HR context? We think we're communicating with 10,000 people, yet probably only 1,000 is going to open up that email, and about 100 of people are actually going to click on the link. So it's a very outdated communication tool, but HR has been using that for a while. So I think the need came about that we need to understand that millennials today, they engage with games, they engage with chat groups, not even just general chat, they live in communities. So the rules regarding communication, the tools regarding communication has changed. And what has happened now with the COVID-19 outbreak, our limited ability to communicate with our employees is now even worsened. It's exaggerated because now not just are we struggling to communicate with them, but now everybody's from at home. So now we need to communicate with remote employees, and we're still trying to use SMSs or emails. So where the need came in is to find ways where we can communicate with our employees using tools that they like to engage with, but also engaging their minds and their hearts by getting that emotional experience and engaging them with the tools that we use. So that is where the need came in, and that is why we've developed some tools to help HR in that type of way. I see Jane is gone, so maybe Jennifer, you what do you think about what we're saying? What is your experience in speaking with clients?
Well, absolutely. I think that it is, especially in future, I love these environments of yours, and perhaps we can quickly touch on the entrepreneurship while we wait for Jane to come in, because that was something that we were going to cover a little bit later. But, you are an entrepreneur in this space trying to scale up now. and we spoke about you coming in and hoping that a VC will potentially see you and see the value in these things that you do. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you would do if you had all the money in the world to scale this up?
Wow. Okay. Well, firstly, what I would do, I would smile more than what I currently do. I'll be happy. But I think what funding does for any entrepreneur, so whether Jane for you or Jennifer for you, or now Zed is on the call, if you're an entrepreneur, what funding does? It helps you to scale. A lot of us do have products that's already adding value. Why we know it's adding value is because people are already paying us for it. Yeah. So the reason that people are already paying us for the product we deliver, meaning that we are adding value, but scalability, that is what normally what funding normally helps you and assists you with, is to take it not just to your current network, but then especially South Africa and into Africa, but then necessarily on a global level. What we have found, I've spoken with other tech entrepreneurs like Jonathan Koch at Talent Genie, Christelle and them at Play, is because South Africa, we've got so very distinct challenges in South Africa and Africa. Entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs in South Africa really need to think outside the box to come up with really awesome solutions. And very often, once we've developed solutions that South Africans actually purchase and work in a South African context, by the time we take it to Europe and the US, people actually like our products because it's really funky ways of solving problems, which people sometimes in Europe and the US that's got first world problems don't really come up with these solutions because they're never confronted with the challenges we are. So by the time we develop products that look after challenges and we take it overseas, people actually like what we do. But yeah, that's basically what funding would do. It would help you to scale on a regional and global level.
I love that. Okay, and with that, let's continue on with Jane's conversation with you. We'll touch on this a little bit later if people have questions on that.
It is, the product and the service offering is amazing. So yeah, I think it would be great to be able to have that opportunity. Elman, I'm just wondering, I know that you're saying people are interested at this time, and I know for myself in speaking to different clients who are now working from home, they're saying one of the challenges is, how do I now communicate with people? People are not necessarily used to working remotely. And as you say, they can maybe communicate, but they're not necessarily engaging people. So we've come into this unexpected scenario of our COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, so I'm just wondering whether you have any views on how your product and your service offering adds value at a time like this specifically.
Yeah, Jane, thank you so much for that question. I think I'm going to take a step back and I really value you guys focus on my product so much, but I think let's focus on the client needs out there. So what are the needs out there that this tries to do? So my wife currently works at Red Bull. All of the employees work from home. They actually started 2 weeks before us. So Red Bull Global had a lockdown even before South African lockdown, and it's going to last until the end of April. So they had 2 months where they had to work from home. I had a conversation with head of HR of Nike South Africa yesterday regarding their things. And the issue what's currently happening, big companies, they have now quickly invested in Microsoft Teams or Zoom or some sort of communication software. So what is happening is on a weekly or daily basis, you'll have teams. So the team lead, the line manager, let's say the head of sales, he sits in front of their computer, and then there's people logging all over South Africa, and they have a communication. I mean, you see all these funny clips about all the meetings that people have on Zoom with 20 to 30 people on it and smiling faces and so forth. Now, those tools are great at communicating. So I've got an opinion, you've got an opinion, we talk to one another. But the issue is because, like now, for this webinar, we log in for a specific purpose, and once a purpose is done, you log off again. That people interaction, emotional interaction that you had at the office, where you both go to the kitchen to have some coffee, where you just chat about random things, get to know one another, just be friendly. Because you're in the office and you see other people, that emotional connection with the company is growing. Let's be honest, it's the people side. The communication tools currently happen like Zoom does not really cater for the people side of the engagement. So that is the big need that clients are seeing today, saying, if my employee is working remotely, there's a couple of things. First, I need to engage with them. I need to get communication open to them. I can't just have a quick meeting in Teams and within a couple of hours, everybody knows about a new policy. It's engagement, getting engagement out there. So that's the first need. The second need is the emotional part. How can I keep my teams motivated? Line managers, the Nike SA's HR director yesterday, especially said a line manager coming to and say, listen here, we've had funny hat meetings now. We had brunch meetings where everybody drinks a coffee at a weird mug. We had dinner meetings where we're drinking wine all together. We've done everything, but I can't keep my team motivated. I can't keep them engaged. It's becoming quite difficult. So that emotional connection is also important. I think in general, the third most important thing, and this is before COVID-19, why our products were so popular, is HR is looking at ways to convert boring HR processes in ways that candidates and employees want to engage with. Like if you look at the normal recruitment process, so if the recruiters log in, or let's say HR people also log in, listen to this, from a recruitment process, whether you work for ShopRite or for Woolworths or for Nike SA, the recruitment process is roughly the same. We send out some form of communication into the market in the form of a job advert. People then respond. That normally goes to applicant tracking system. You get auto respond emails from that. Then you go into a face-to-face interview, into a panel interview. So the process is the same, and it's very often quite boring. People know what they expect. There's nothing spectacular and engaging that keeps the candidate engaged. Well, with game-based or gamification, if you gamify that process a bit, you can actually throw some interactions in with the candidate that would make the candidate experience so memorable that they would walk away after being at your company and remember that experience, remember the emotions that they felt while they went through that experience. And that's going to let you stand out as a possible employer. The same thing with employees. If you take the onboarding process, which we're going to show you, and you just do something different that really engage people's hearts with their minds, the new employee is going to already, from the first day, even before they start, they're going to feel there's no buyer's remorse. They're going to say, wow, yes, I made a good choice here. Leaving my old employer for the new employer, yes, I made a great choice. The emotional connection with the new employer will develop from the start, and that will improve retention and productivity. But let's say anything about employee engagement, you want your employees to be engaged, because studies have shown the more engaged they are, the more productive they are. So in a nutshell, I've got a couple of other things here, but for the sake of this conversation, I think that is the most pertinent needs that our product address through this process.
Engaged employees are the more productive employees. And we know from all the studies and Gallup surveys that an emotional connection is your most surefire way of getting somebody engaged and getting somebody loyal, whether they're internal or external. So I like what you're saying about creating that emotional connection and how important that is. And I think I'm also hearing that in the marketplace, where people they're struggling to connect, they're struggling to communicate. And part of it, I suppose, is just everybody adjusting to their new normal. So it sounds like a wonderful, simple solution. So I think I want to ask you two things is, please, can you show us a little bit more about what it looks like? And then I also want to know your view on why people are struggling to take this on, or what do you think the obstacles or challenges are for people to not just say, oh, this is amazing, this is our solution, let's just, implement this. So I don't know what you'd rather do first. Either, show us a little bit of what it actually looks like so we can get that picture, or tell us, what obstacles or challenges people are coming up with.
Yeah, I think I've got a couple of demos here to show the application in different solutions. So maybe let me show one or two. Then thereafter, I'll tell you what the challenges that we experience, and then thereafter we can maybe jump into another one. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show just an example of a onboarding process that you could gamify in this way. I'm going to share my screen now, but before we start, I just want to, from a technical point of view, people listening in, there are two ways in which you can execute virtual environments. The one is called CGI, it's called computer generated imaging. That is where you physically create through a computer an environment. So think of animation stuff like Toy Story or Shrek. So it is a computer generated environment, not real life. The other one is where you take 360 images or 360 videos of an actual environment or the client's offices, and you use that as a background for that. So I'm going to demo both today, but the one I'm going to show you now is of a client's actual environment. So what we do, we physically go into the offices, take these images with a specialized 360 camera. It's the same thing that they use for Google Maps, for Google Earth, and that type of cameras. We go in and we take it. So here's an example of one that we've created. Oh, snap. Sorry about that. Let me share my screen. It would work if I share my screen and everybody can see it. So let me do it like that. My entire screen share. Let me just check with you. It's loading.
So Alman, maybe while it's loading, you can tell us some of the challenges that people...
Jennifer, can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I know, just something, we can't actually see it. It's just blurry. I mean, this is, we're not phased though, because we're all getting used to remote work.
Okay.
And
so I think while it's loading.
So while it's loading, you can tell us some of the challenges that you think people are coming up with.
Let me try this again. Okay, so the challenges. Yes. So starting off with.
Oh goodness! It seems like the bug has bitten again. This is the reality of remote. You can't always trust the internet to be stable. But I have to say it's much better than last week, right? So we're just going to wait for Alman to reconnect. And while we wait for Alman to reconnect, hello, Vanessa. Hello, Karen. Hello, LZ. It's great to see all of you here. We lost Alman for a little bit. We expecting him to come back any moment now, and then he's going to demo us some of his CGI environments. We're very excited to see it. I remember when I first met Alman and we had a cup of coffee, we finally sat down and he showed me this environment of his, and I was mind blown because it is just beautiful. It's a fantastic space, and I definitely see it happening quite a lot in future, where people who have remote head office or virtual head office will have a CGI gamification in terms of their assessments. You can learn a lot with about people with the way they play games, and who will also have these virtual environments, these 360-degree environments for onboarding. I think it saves a lot of time. What do you think, Jane?
Yeah, I'm just quickly messaging Alman to say maybe he should share the link with you to open. But yeah, I think so. I think the thing that I'm hearing at the moment from a lot of clients is that they don't have the capacity to be able to facilitate onboarding or to be able to communicate policies and processes or update people on company information, especially working remotely. And even when they're not working remotely, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of manpower. And so I think they are looking for ways to be able to implement something like this But I do see a fear around, how much is tech going to do? And how much does that take away from the human interaction? I think people are afraid of losing that human engagement, but I don't think it has to be one or the other. So, for example, from a talent acquisition perspective, I think if somebody is going through a talent acquisition process and part of it is the gamification or part of it is on the tech side, it allows more time and space to engage more meaningfully in person when they are meeting with the decision makers and the relevant stakeholders than everybody in the process just getting a tiny little bit of interaction. So I think there's potential to make the whole process more meaningful. And as Elman was saying, there's potential to be able to expand and increase that candidate experience, which we know is so important. I see Vanessa here. Oh, I see Celeste here too. Hello, Vanessa and Celeste. So they'll be able to testify to, what McKinsey coined in 2001 around the war for talent, and the candidates having won that. And I know Vanessa often talks about talent attraction now being more the focus than being able to, necessarily source people, especially through, advertising. I mean, we're past that in a lot of ways, except for certain bulk recruitment, etc. But I think because of that, there really is a war for companies to stand out and to make their experience better than the next one. So as Elman was saying, it is so important for a candidate to be able to go into an organization, experience that process, because 4 out of 5 candidates will judge that company's culture based on their experience with the person who's interviewing them and with all the touch points in their talent acquisition process. Most of them, if it's negative, they won't come back. But you've got to be able to provide an experience where candidates will leave and say, even if I didn't get the job, I'm telling people about that company because it was so impressive. It was so personal. It was so forward thinking. I love the tech side, especially if we're going to speak to our millennials and Gen Zs. So I think that is such an important part to include in the process if you do want to stand out as a potential employer or an employer of choice, which I know is Celeste's favorite topic. Welcome back, Elman.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your WhatsApp, so I was talking on and on and on and on.
No problem.
Well,
maybe
I basically solved everybody's problems. While I was away, I solved everyone's problems. It's a pity you guys can hear me, yeah?
Well, maybe if you want to, you can just move on to telling us what you find the challenges and the obstacles are for people who want to implement these solutions, because they sound like solutions that really add value and be able to increase their candidate, expand their candidate experience, improve that. So why are people not buying into this quickly or already, or especially now? What's holding them back?
Yes, okay. And I think that after we can go into the demos. So I think there's a couple of things. The first main thing often is the lack of technical expertise. I mean, most of us, even me, I studied a BA. So people that come into HR leadership normally studied a BCom or a BA, and doesn't come from the technical background. So the moment you start talking about front ends and back ends and databases and CGI and avatars and APIs and integration and those type of things, because it seems so technical, because it seems so difficult, people start saying, okay, whoa, maybe we should get IT involved, or maybe this is something I don't understand. So often that is some trouble. The other big one is that we found is building a business case. So often HR sees that this is going to change their life. They're going to see the value that's going to add for the employee. They'll see the value it's going to add for the employer brand. But when they need to build a business case to get the budget, they're not that versed in creating the ROI. Because let's say, for example, they are spending X amount on onboarding. But when they want to go to their boss or the FD or something, say, hey, I want to just next year, I don't want to spend this on a normal process. I want to spend something on new things. But then business or sometimes ask them, okay, well, build me a business case. What is the ROI going to be, and why do we need to do something new? It's often at that point that they struggle. to a degree, we've become quite good at helping HR to do that. So I don't think that's a challenge anymore, but sometimes people do struggle to convince business. And I think lastly, it's just sometimes the fear of change. People have been doing onboarding for 20 years the same way, or the recruitment process has been like this for the past 15 years, or they would say, since I've been here, this is how we deal with things. And although the new way might be new, it might be exciting, might add value, it's human for us to sometimes just fear change and say, well, how is this not going to change? If we move to tech, is it going to take the people interaction totally away? What is going to happen? But it's just that fear of change. So I think that's the three reasons why people sometimes haven't implemented this yet.
No, absolutely. I think that fear of change is so real, and I see Celeste echoing that in our chat box. So we are creatures of habit, and change is hard in any scenario. And it's not new news, but I think one of the things that people are saying about our current pandemic is it is forcing people into a situation where they have to change. We don't have a choice anymore. It is business as unusual, not as usual, but how do we navigate this? How do we adjust? And nobody has a choice. And I think another thing that people are saying, again, which is not new news, is that after the lockdowns have ended and we all go back into the workplace, it's not necessarily going to go back to as it was before. This isn't a new normal and we're going to go back to normal. So what are your views on how things will change when we're trying to integrate back into the work style or workplace as we knew it? What are your view about what's your view about what's going to be different?
Okay. So I think firstly, remote work is going to become more acceptable in the South African context. If you follow employment trends in Europe, Australia, and especially the US, people have been moving towards the gig economy, moving towards independent contractors. So there was a study, I think it was last year, that came out that non-perm staff was almost 50% of the US population or working population last year. So half of the US population are not people that come to the office from 9 to 5 that work a specific job with a specific job description. So there they were already more used to remote work. While in South Africa, proper gig economy, it's probably only Uber that in South Africa really does that. The rest is still shift work or 9 to 5. You go to a venue and you work from there. And although people have been speaking about the benefits of remote working, on employee engagement, on productivity, South African companies haven't really tried it, because you need to trial it first. You need to see what is going to work in your context, because working from home is different once again for a manufacturing environment and a contact center than it is for retail or head office. So you need to find your way. And people in South Africa has been postponing it. While I think what happened now is that experiment of remote work has been forced on them. So I think they've learned now what is working and what is not working. So offering remote work for people that can work remotely is going to become more prevalent. So I think that is the first one. The second thing that's going to happen is South Africa companies have been caught a bit off guard by not having the technology to deal with remote working or people working from home. They simply didn't. So another change is going to be, I see IT departments, finance departments, HR departments, everybody in the next financial year is going to spend considerably more money on empowering themselves, on getting technology that engage and work with remote workers than they did previously. Yeah, I would think that's the two main changes that is going to stay after the lockdown has passed.
Very much agree with you. And currently I see specifically the IT departments and the HR people across industries are the people who are working kind of 24/7 at the moment, trying to quickly implement and set up what is needed for people to be able to function when they're working from home. And hopefully it'll be a little bit easier once people's kids have gone back to school, because at the moment they're trying to multitask and working and educating their kids. I know we've done a couple of webinars on that. But I agree with you. I think that, overseas, they have set that precedent. I mean, we've been training coaches globally over the past 4 years. And so for us, we had a workshop this morning, which was so exciting to engage with people. But in our workshop this morning, everybody was working from home. But it wasn't unusual, because for the past 4 years, as we've been training these people in Europe and in the US, they've been working from home. So some are in the office, but it's not unusual. They're very used to working from a home place, and they're comfortable, and it's all set up. So I agree with you. I think we're going to have to move towards that. But Alman, what would I see, we're going to have to end off soon and allow a little bit of time for some Q&A. But for people who are out there and listening either right now, who are going to be listening to the recording, and they're thinking, yeah, we really need to start investing, but where do we begin? I mean, you told us once about that one client you went to see who's got like 20 different systems that they've started, and now how do they integrate them? How do they get them to talk to each other? Where do people start if they want to start putting these types of solutions into place?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question, Jan, because on Cargo People Analytics, that's what I deal with on a daily basis. So what often happens, like what happened now with COVID-19, is HR, because once again, they're not the IT department, yeah? So I come from HR, and I made the same mistakes. So I'm not pointing fingers. Actually, the biggest thing is to me, because I've done the same problem. But because we don't come from a tech background, we don't understand that we need to do HR tech strategy and HR data strategy. So when we purchase software, we need to think. It's almost like Lego blocks. How are all these software going to fit with one another? How's the data going to flow between the systems and from the systems? We never thought about that. So what often happened in the past is we've got a need for something. We identify a need, whether it's a training software. We go out, we buy LMS, we just implement it. Now the LMS is there and people use that normally as a standalone. Then 3 years later, let's say, and this will happen end-to-end, so it's a case study. They fixed it, but it will happen there. But then 2 years later, the sales director comes and says, hey guys, we've been using your LMS, but
Alman is frozen for me. I don't know if he's frozen for everyone else. Still frozen for me. Jen, is he frozen for you?
Yes, he's frozen for me too. So let's give him a moment to reload.
Can reload. But I do think there are some HR people who are thinking ahead. There's a friend of ours who works for one of the top financial services companies, and he said even from the first week where they were all working from home. Now he is more in the IT space, but the HR person was already asking them, what is your productivity like? How are you finding it working from home? Do you think you can be more productive working from home? What do you think about this way of working when, kind of lockdown is over? So I do I do hear you, Ryan, and I agree. I think there has been a culture of micromanagement, but it is refreshing to hear the stories of people who are thinking ahead and who are thinking, perhaps this could work in the future. I know there was another client, an HR friend who was working for one of the, again, an IT company, but during one of our load shedding stints, they all had to go and work from home for a full week. And what they did is they tracked people's productivity over that time. And when everyone came back to work, they realized that they'd actually increased in productivity with everybody working from home. Now, granted, of course, they were all more set up to do that and, more used to working remotely, being in IT and IT solutions. But so what they did is when they came back, they said, okay, now we're all back. We don't have any more load shedding at that stage. But from now on, all of you have to work from home every Wednesday. It's compulsory. And so they've actually integrated that into part of their business as usual now, is that people have to work from home on a Wednesday. So I do think that kind of culture will be embedded and that kind of culture will be integrated into companies as we move forward. And hopefully, those HR people who are thinking ahead are already preparing for that. So Alman, welcome back. Speaking of technology, and you were busy telling us about how people can set up to be able to move forward in the space, and MTN is the case study.
Yeah, so last is just your HR data. So when you start off, you need to plan up front, what are you going to do with the HR data and how it's going to flow. Once you've done that, and Koga People Analytics can help you to develop a strategy and the data strategy, but once you've done that, then only you go to vendors. Then you go and speak with vendors to see what are their capabilities and will that fit into your tech strategy and your data strategy. But very often people do it the other way around. They go first, buy all the software, implement it, and then they say, oh, hell, how are we going to get these things to talk to one another? How are we going to get the data to flow? Like anything, do the strategy first and the planning first, then you know what you need, and then you go out and then you go purchase it. So that's what I would start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when I've heard you speak on this topic before and in the training that we did, I remember you telling that clients in the oil industry saying, don't try and implement everything all at once. Just do it in bite-sized chunks. Identify it, break it down, put something into, implement something, see how that's working, then add something else. But it doesn't have to be super expensive and, a big once-off event. So I think that gives a bit of encouragement to people who are, as you say, a little bit nervous of this, especially if they're not technically astute. So, Alman, I don't know if you're ready to share your screen. I'm a little bit nervous that if you share it, you're going to disappear again.
I've been ready. Has the bandwidth been ready? That's the main thing.
Well, maybe before you show us, let's just see, are there any questions that anyone has in case we do lose Alman? Brian, I love your point about both sides needing to come to the party. I think that's a great point. Let people prove it.
And also there's a question for Alman that's from Kelly, who says, which type of businesses are able to employ this kind of technology? Is it ideally for big corporates or is it scalable for SMEs too? Lovely question, Kelly. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, no, this is all over. Once I show you some of our solutions, we've got SMEs that's implementing these things. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got SMEs that implement this. So I think that's what I like about a lot of South African companies that I'm currently dealing with on the applicant tracking system, on video interviewing and everything, is because we're developing the tech over here. It is cost effective. You don't need to be a large corporate to invest in something like this. Especially some of the things that we've done here. It's very flexible, and then it's for SMEs. Okay, so let me just qualify this, right? So we talk about SMEs. A virtual engagement scenario. Companies have that type of problem only when they've got some sizable numbers. I mean, when you're a micro enterprise with 5 employees, you don't need to invest in a virtual onboarding. You probably onboard one person a year. So to invest in something for one person a year, it won't make sense. But there are some point at the SME, I would say people with 50, 60 heads plus, that probably onboarding people once a month at least. Those are the type of people that essentially would buy it. That and up. But they're definitely of micro enterprises, but yeah, SMEs and up. It's fine.
Nice to hear. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, do you want me to start sharing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so here's an example of a onboarding process. As you can see, there's a client for which we've demoed this for. We're in the process of building this thing. This is an example of what I said is the live imaging. So we go to an office space and we physically take images like this of the office. So the great thing from an onboarding process is if you send this to a new starter, even before they start, essentially they can take a physical tour through your entire office space from home. So by the time they get to the office for their first day, The office isn't strange anymore. They know how the reception looks like. They even know how to get to their office. They know how their department looks like. They know the canteen. You can even show them where they park, where they need to park. You can have an entire tour like that. It's all built on physical, actual images of your actual office. There are also two ways. This is just the static way. I'll show you the other one where we've put in some more interactive ways. So once again, for Kelly's question, this is a type of solution that you can roll out very cost effectively. But let's do some interactions over here. Let's hope you guys can hear this. I'm going to press on the sound button.
Hi, welcome to Onboarding. This is a demonstration of a typical onboarding process for an employee.
I hope you guys...
Hi, welcome to Momentum. This is a demonstration of a typical onboarding process for an employee.
I hope you guys heard that. That was just the voiceover in here. For example, what you can do over here is you can have a welcome video from the CEO. So when they click on it, it will open up an actual video. This one pulls through from YouTube now, so you can see it is embedded. You can embed YouTube in here, but you can embed a standalone video that doesn't pull from the internet from here.
Who would have guessed an apprentice would become president? Who could have seen a European breakup drama? Who can predict which too big to collapse?
So this is just an example. You can put any video in there, but how great would it be if you start off and the CEO would say, oh, welcome to Momentum. We are so happy to have you as part of our business. Our business is all about people. And he starts sharing, or she starts sharing about the values of the company and everything, which will allow the new employee to engage with the CEO directly, know who the CEO is, and engage from there. Let's move around over here. So here's the great thing that people love about the onboarding process. One big part about onboarding is the administration thereof. So people need to choose the employee benefits. There's two things applicable here. Firstly, they need to know what the benefits are. So if it's a provident fund or medical aid, they need to know what the medical aid options are, what the provident fund options are. So they need to be educated regarding that. And then secondly, they need to fill in the administration form. Well, this engage in the total virtual engagement, we can handle both the education and the administration. So as you can see here, here's a video. If we click on that, then a video would open up that will explain to the employee what benefits are there. So let's on the provident fund, let's say there's three options: aggressive, a moderate or conservative fund with conservative growth. Okay, sorry, I've seen. Okay. Then over here, the Providence Fund, it will open up something where they can fill in their form. I'm not going to press it because proprietary knowledge for Momentum, but this takes them into the employee self-service system. So once somebody clicks over here, they can indicate what Providence Fund they want. They can add the next of kin details, and they can fill in the entire form. So once somebody is done in this room, they know what the Provident Fund is going to be. They filled in the Provident Fund form. It takes away paperwork completely. There's no paperwork that somebody needs to fill in that needs to go to HR, and HR needs to capture it. Once they're done here, it's with API, it's links up with their system. So then administration is done for the Provident Fund. They can go back and do the same thing for the medical aid. And then if you've got any videos for orientation, let's say people need to know what the health and safety policy is, then you can create anything like this where people can watch a health and safety video or any other policy and just see what it says.
Health and safety, it can be easier than you think.
I'm not gonna go through this. So okay, are there any questions or things you wanna add, Jennifer, Jane?
From the chat box, from anybody who's with us.
Say that again.
So, oh no, I was just seeing if there were any questions on the side. I don't have any questions. I love it. And I think, just recently I was speaking to somebody who said, sure, she doesn't know how she's going to find the capacity to onboard new people at the moment. And I was speaking to her about this and saying, why doesn't she look into this? Because, and they can, it's so much more real with the, CGI and with the, virtual reality experience. It's so different to something that's just 2D or text-based. So I think that's what, as you say, makes it attractive and adds to the candidate experience instead of making it feel monotonous. Okay, I'm going through, pages and pages now. So I love the idea of visiting different rooms and the fact that it's integrated with the whole system so that you're not duplicating and wasting time like that.
I'll show you something cool. I just want to show you something cool quickly. We've created for Nike in 24 hours. It's a demo, but it's very, very applicable to COVID-19. Is that going to be okay?
Yeah. Jen, you fine? Yeah. We have a couple of minutes left.
I'm going to quickly go through this. There we go. So, okay. So in current, this is Nike is looking for something that they engage the employees with. There's an employee engagement one. It will tell you exactly how it works. This is a picture of the Nike SA, of the Nike international offices in the US. We got an image online. So it is actual office of the people South Africa, and so that looks like. But what we've done with plug and play, we just took images that we had. As you can see, it's the same office space we use for Momentum, yeah? So this makes it plug and play. But yeah, you can have a coronavirus update. So if people want to know what's happening, there's a link here, I can take it to a coronavirus update. In here, if there's any updates that they want on the office, there's some information I could share over here about new developments at Nike, maybe announcements on the leave policy. They're going to put a weekly, we're going to change this video over here. There's going to be a message from the CEO on a weekly basis, motivating the employees. And then lastly, we're creating some games for them to play over here, where the game for the week, for instance, is going to be emoji charade. They're going to play over here. And then, yes, how it's going to work. And at the end, they're going to go to a leaderboard room. And then whoever won last week is going to show it. So what we took it, and because it's plug and play, we took images and we developed this within 24 hours. But it is built for employee engagement under COVID. So what's going to happen? Everybody in Nike SA is going to come here on a daily basis, check if there's new messages over here. They're going to play the game, check videos from the CEO, and this is a way for the entire company to engage, to feel part, and to get information without making it sound boring. Okay. There we go.
Love it, and that it allows for people to do it in their own space, pace, time. So I think that just takes away the challenges of people having demands at home and, missing meetings or not being engaged during a meeting. So I love that. Awesome. So Jen, anything from your side? Any questions or things you want to add?
Well, to me, something like this, I look at it and I think to myself, a potential candidate will walk in there, they will click through and get all the information that they need without having to ask these questions, either of HR, the hiring manager, the recruiter. And I feel that this value for money will become this. What we're seeing here is a little slice of the future that we're bringing to you today. This is going to be the norm. There is no doubt in my mind about this at all. And to me, it's an exciting thing. I'm glad that we could see this in the beginning, Alman. I think we're in for a wonderful ride with your company, with the Degree Tech. And it's only you, or you have a co-founder, right?
Yeah, so my background, because I'm from HR, so if you guys think that somehow I built all these fancy things, unfortunately, I'm not that talented. So, but Yakin Sadek is my partner. He's the guy that makes the magic. So how we work together is I would sit down with the client, because I'm from HR, I understand their processes and I understand the message I want to put through. Then I go back, I speak with Yakin, and I say, okay, well, this is the purpose. He then becomes very creative and comes up with things, starts building it. We take it to the client, and then it's a normal software development process from there. sprints and scrums, and then at the end until we develop it. But the great thing is that we can build something very bespoke on client images that makes it very nice for them and can be as big. But in this case, where you want something urgently, Nike wants something that they want to communicate to their people now. Within 24 hours, we can build something for them that's quite cheap and they can roll out quite quickly. And that flexibility is sometimes what companies also looking for. They don't want just this big, enormous machine of a solution that takes months to build, and once it's built, it can't be changed, or it can be changed, but with cost and difficult. We can quickly change into actions and make it quite flexible for any company.
And one last thing, Jane told me that you have a little gift for our live attendees today. Would you mind telling us just a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, so anybody that's live today, Jane and Jennifer is gonna pick the lucky winner, and then I'll be in contact, and then you can either choose a free license in one of our HR chatbots for a month or two, or we can give you a significant discount on one of the virtual environments. So if you want something for your company, you can make contact with us, and we can build something for you with a significant discount.
Excellent. Thanks, Elman. That's very generous of you.
Yes, thank you so much.
In the spirit of COVID, where everybody is just trying to help one another, support one another, and see how we can all move forward. Thank you. So thanks so much for your time, Elman. We really appreciate you taking the time out to share your knowledge, your expertise, your vision of the future. I know Jen is a futurist at heart, so she's always looking at the future and where it's going and what it's going to hold. So so I know that's also very exciting for her and for I to hear more about. So thank you. And yes, so people will be able to get in contact with you if they're interested or if they want to refer people. And we look forward to people being able to come away with a little something as well, whether they're the lucky winner of the discount or of the chatbot. So yeah,
that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, of course, we're going to be, we've got a live recording of this. It'll go onto our Touchbase YouTube page, and a link, of course, on our Touchbase Facebook page as well. Please keep an eye on there to hear who the lucky winner was. And of course, if we've got any further information, we can continue the conversation there. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. It was exciting. I loved it. And I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Bye, Elman. Bye, Jane.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.